Would you look at that? Another video. It's like I've got a wave of motivation from somewhere. Excuse me. So, I've been threatening... Well, I don't know if threatening is a good word to use on YouTube. That's this video demonetized. Wait, I don't even get monetized. Bollocks to it. Threatened. Said. I've been saying for a while that I was going to go through my scrapbooks to show everybody sort of how I come up with ideas. And I suspect one of the reasons why some work, not all, some work of mine recently has been a bit stale is because I kind of neglected the scrapbooking a bit. So I thought I'll go back to the beginning. And the beginning is here. So before the channel I'm recording this on now, there was another channel that's kind of like my TV channel where I'm subscribed to everything that I watch. And I put some videos on there, but it wasn't very good. And my old Instagram got nuked, so I kind of had to reset up, blah, 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 who cares. But I figured I'd start here, because this is the kind of work that you see now. This is exactly when I started it. So the first thing that I ever did was I bought myself a brand new sketchbook, as everyone does, when they get a new sense of creativity. And I just did some drawings. I started here with some sort of basic line work. I should say at this point, this book kind of coincides with when I first discovered Peter Draws, who's like the grandfather of doodle art. For those who don't know who Peter Draws is, where's the books? I've got all three, well, I've got three of his books, so he does this kind of doodle art, and it's like amazing. Like, you know, that's the standard. So I kind of discovered his work, and I started messing about, playing about with shapes, with lines, basic things. And this kind of came off the back of as well. And before this, I did movie posters digitally. And I was kind of off. I thought the next logical step from that to try and better that kind of work would be to learn anatomy. Specifically sort of heads, faces, that kind of thing. And I just couldn't quite get the hang of it. And one bit of advice that stuck with me, I can't remember if I read it or if I heard it or whatever, was the advice of draw shapes, not things. And it just kind of stuck with me. And you apply that kind of to everything that you draw. But I kind of whittled that all the way back, almost literally, and then applied it to, in the previous video I talked about, my two biggest inspirations. So I just started drawing this kind of stuff. Lines, swirly shapes, some squares with a black background. This is kind of where you see sort of Peter's influence coming. But I tried in some way to make it more unique and more me. So yeah, this is where you first kind of see it, and these are some drawings that I did early on. I did record some of these as well, but I took them down because I thought they were rubbish. Also as well, they felt too similar to Peter's stuff in the sense that they felt like really rubbish versions of his work. Like, I wanted to be as good as him, but it's like this, you know, you can't really do that. They were fun to draw, and like I said, I don't know, I might put videos back up at some point. But yeah, this is some of the early stuff I did, just really trying to get to grips with shapes, just basic detail, dots, all that sort of stuff. So it's just a good few sort of pages of this kind of thing. Try and change it up a bit here with some colours. I think this was I think pebbles and stones and moss. I think I got the idea with this. I tried using more sort of circles. I think I saw at this time on Instagram I saw a lot of stippling. That's the technique where you use dots. So I tried to apply that in some way. Maybe mix it up with basic shapes. I'm pretty sure I recorded this one. I don't know if that was the first one, but yeah, that was one of the first. So at this point, it's just basically trying to imitate Peter's work, play about with cross-hatching, all this kind of stuff. I recorded that one. Yeah, I remember that. I can't remember which book it's in, but I saw a drawing of his that I really liked, and I kind of tried to copy it a bit, and it didn't go well. I quite like this. This is when I started using neon, well, around here, neon colours for the first time. I do actually quite like this one. So this, I always reference this in my live stream. So I think this drawing is awful. Like visually and aesthetically, it looks crap. But this was probably the first drawing that I did that sparked a change up for me, where I loved the idea of it, where I tried to kind of make it like an 80s vibe with all the neon colours and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it looks dreadful. Like, I tried to mix it up and all that sort of stuff. But for some reason, just that idea stuck with me, and I thought, right, maybe I can do something with this. Yeah, so you'll see kind of more of that later. This is another one I recorded. I don't mind that one. I'd say that's arguably the best one I've done out of all of them. This was kind of an idea. I wanted all the colours to kind of ring outwards, but again, it just looked terrible, so I didn't pursue it. At this point, I thought I started getting okay with it, but I don't know, like, you're not quite satisfied with your own. You look at it and think, I'm not quite 100% with it. And I think that was the last one. This is when I started trying something different. I think I started getting more into Zentangle art at this point. Oh no, I did a couple. I don't think I recorded any of these, but yeah, I did a couple more. Yeah, that one you can see, like, that was almost like a straight copy almost of Peter's work. Yeah, just a few more here. I think I started to try and maybe make buildings. Again, very, very, very early sort of genesis of what my artwork was to become. And then at this point, yeah, I just got reminders and codes and stuff I got sent. This was when my Instagram got nuked. Yeah, I wrote down all the pages that I like to follow. So this is kind of like almost like a pre, what's the word I'm looking for here? I want to say prequel, but not really a prequel. I suppose like a test run, if you like, of what my art was to become. And that's when I started the idea of scrapbooking stuff. So this is kind of the most early work. I don't know how long this is all going to take to go through, but it is what it is. So there's 2 sketchbooks worth of messing around here. I can tell because of the paper. So I don't know if I got it in exact order. I really should start dating my work at this point, but what are you going to do? But I can tell that there are 2 different sketchbooks here because of the type of paper. Like, this paper's like, I don't know why I'm doing this, you can't feel that. But it's a lot rougher and a lot thicker. And then I transitioned into the other paper. But this is kind of when you see it start to veer off. So you can kind of see here there's still like a mix of Peter Draw's style of doodle, but here I'm kind of moving away from that. I start using more things that I like as reference. This is where the video game kind of reference comes in. And this is where I start playing about with ideas. They become a little bit more detailed, so kind of here and here. And this is when I kind of started having the idea of incorporating the numbers into my drawings, because I wanted to know what colour I used. But you can kind of see the early kind of doors, what I was starting to do. And sort of here at this point there's just pages and pages of this stuff. I think I'm still thinking I can mix this kind of doodle style with something unique. But it's just all experimentation. That's all it is. It's just playing with basic shapes, mixing them up, mixing them together, trying different colours. But you can kind of see little sort of nudges of where I'm looking to go. Yeah, this is very early doors. This I don't think I'd made any original pieces at this point. This was still very much just experimenting. That you can see here that my style starts to kind of, excuse me, go towards more sort of straight lines and squares and that kind of shapes. Somebody mentioned, was it TikTok? Somebody mentioned this about maybe using an intro. And here, I remember doing this. Oh, I wish, do you know what? I wish I'd fished them out. I might even be able to, you know. If you look at my TikTok, like the really early stuff. I don't know how that is. I found it. Oh no, I don't know. I'll not fish it out now. That's for another time. But if you look on the really early stuff on my TikTok, I actually did an intro, and I wrote down a load of letters, and I believe that was the O. Because back then I called them doodle jams, and they were the ones that I showed you in the other sketchbook. That's what they were called. Yeah, here we go. So here's the D. I think that was the L. I wanted to incorporate, yeah, they can see the kind of early workings of it. I wanted a skull to be incorporated into them. But I abandoned that. That was just some calligraphy I was practicing. I don't know why that's in that book. This is when I started getting new pens, so I got metallic pens. Still don't know how to best use these, so that's these ones, these Stabilo metallic ones. Because they're quite thick nibs, and I prefer using thinner nibs. I've not really been able to use them as effectively as I want. Yeah, this is again still very much in the experimental stage, trying different colours. I think I'm trying to get what I'm trying to do at this point, if I remember rightly, because I do remember some of this. Is I think I'm trying to basically cyberpunk, sci-fi, video game background, Peter Draw style into my own style. So you can see like the really hyper, but this is me trying to really almost use the same techniques as him, but apply it differently. So this is still me trying to figure out how to do my own thing, but using his art style almost. We're trying to kind of mix my art style and his art style. Just a piece I attempted. This is when I start branching out a little bit, practicing clouds. I think smoke as well. Layers. I believe that was an attempt at a sprite ship. Oh, there you go. And then you can see some of the early sort of transitioning now. This is kind of getting more towards me. Yeah, I remember this stuff. I remember this is very. Now I think now we're kind of almost fully transitioned from me just trying to copy Peter's stuff into really thinking about my own stuff. So like here, so game environments, you can see here probably like a really big influence on what I'm trying to make. So just all the sort of background structures, like I've mentioned before. So I would have thought, I think this maybe came before what I've just shown you there, but like I say, because they're all mixed up, I don't know. I should have dated them. But yeah, I think this is still me still trying to make it look like biomechanical still. But it's all kind of mixed in, but there's some good little ideas here. Like I think in some of the drawings that I've done, in some of the pages, you can see kind of bigger versions of this, or parts of them at least incorporated. Yeah, I think this is I think I was still kind of looking at Zentangle art, like there specifically. You can see it, and here. Mixing in with some, because I started practicing graffiti stuff again, so lettering I think came into it. I think that was just this bit here. This was a piece that I started, but I thought I don't really, just looks a bit bare bones, so again I just used it as a experimental page there. The sort of the idea that I said earlier, trying to maybe incorporate that and mix it in a little bit better. But yeah, I think all this stuff kind of came a little bit earlier. I think they were maybe the first pages of that book. They're all this stuff I'm showing you now is the same book. I just can't remember which order everything's in. Oh, this is all blue. Oh, some really nice stuff here. I don't think you can see it. It's all in blue, blue lead. I think I started using graffiti as my references a bit more at this point. I think you can tell. So look, there's Jambar there. So yeah, I start using graffiti as referencing again and start getting back into drawing that kind of stuff. This is the very first. So this is like almost like the birth of the tutorial I started to write. Again, I don't think you can see it because it's all in blue, but I think at this point, this was just me trying to figure out how to build up a piece and build up shapes. So here, I don't know if you can see it. It's just squares with different line widths. Then it's like diagonal lines, then weaves. Again, I think I'm using Zentangle art as a heavy influence on this. So just mixing up all these different styles. You can see some stuff better here. I think so. I'm still playing about with this kind of style here. Still trying to mix it up a little bit. There you go, trying to incorporate some graffiti. But I think it kind of highlights the importance of just experimenting. Like I've mentioned earlier that I'm a horrible perfectionist where, like I said, every line, every dot has to be perfect, and if it's not, I'm not happy with it, and I'll just abandon it and start again. And I think doing this kind of exercise has really helped me to just be a bit looser, be a bit more, I don't know if the word expressive is the right word to use, experimental, not being as neat and tidy. So like just having really rough shapes, really rough ideas, if it's not perfect, it's not a problem. But here you can see I'm starting to get a little bit more neat, a bit more of a neat freak. But at this point, I don't think I've fully found my style yet. I think I am still just discovering that. I think this whole sketchbook, so this is the thicker paper, I think this entire sketchbook is basically just me trying to find my own style. I haven't really found it yet. Here there's an artist called, I can never remember his name, it begins with a V. Let me see if I can quickly Instagram this. You can tell I'm not very good at making videos off the fly. I don't think I'm going to get it, am I? Nope, can't remember. Basically, what this artist does, he'll kind of draw... He uses mainly biros, I think, and microns as well. But it's just vast pages of like little leaves with dots as the detail. And I've tried to, again, bring that into it. I think in the sketchbook you saw before, I think maybe that's... You can see part of the influence there, like with this stuff here, the circles. That was the beginnings of a skull that I started to draw as I hack all over myself. Because I thought, again, another thing that I could do to make it more uniquely me was incorporate this kind of stuff into a skull, because I really enjoy drawing skulls. Something I could return to as well. But yeah, I think what this kind of highlights is just... I try and say it to sort of other artists who ask me about it, because like anyone who knows, who draws and who does art, you can have big chunks of time where you're not motivated, or you've got block, or again you don't really feel creative, whereas stuff like this, somebody like me as well, the way that my mind works when it comes to drawing, just starting off with a random scribble and then just a random shape and just expanding out, and before you know it, you've got, like here, it's just random crap, and then before you know it, you've got through pages of ideas, and then you can pick something from that, pull it out, and draw something completely unique with it. I think here we're starting to get closer now to what you would call my style, if you like. So here's some of the sort of early inklings of it. Still not fully abandoning the full-on doodle stuff. This is kind of influenced by video game bosses. So like all the bosses you get in like R-Type and games like that. Like the biomechanical stuff, like there's a brain in it, or like there's a big vat of goo or something. So it hasn't, like I said, I've not fully transitioned, if you like. There's still elements of it there. Like I think here you can still see some of Peter's influence. And then this is now we're starting to get a lot closer. This I think this might be the first. Was this the first page I uploaded to TikTok? It might have been. So this is when I start to get the idea of maybe buildings and cityscapes, basically kind of harnessing them into actual structures. So this looks like a floating factory type thing almost, which is what a lot of my kind of influence and inspiration is. And I think now we're starting to really see it come about. This is where you start to see what we know today. Yes, that was what I was looking for yesterday. Was it yesterday or the day before? When I said about I was drawing structures, and there was a drawing I did where it was two. It was like two little things, almost like the battery things from Matrix. So that's what that influence is. Again, it's something just a simple idea of that I really like, but I never do anything like it again. I'm horrendous for it. Here we can see more. I'd say this is more graffiti. So this isn't meant to say anything, but I can't pick out, like in a lot of graffiti, or I couldn't at the time pick out a lot of what some graffiti stuff said. So I just drew random shapes to make it look as if like it could have been a graffiti piece, even though it's not. And then we've got some of this. Is it meant to be that way? I don't even know which way around it's meant to be. I'm assuming this way. You'd start from the top, right? Or maybe it's... I don't know. I just don't know. This, I think, is when you start to see the beginnings of when I bought that book. So the book I've got all my black book drawings in. The first few pages are this kind of stuff, and I did a whole page of this and this. It's quite interesting sort of looking through a timeline of... Because when you begin, you don't know where you're going to end up. You don't know if you're going to keep doing it. Because I didn't know what my style was. As many people don't. You kind of... When you start in your art journey, it sounds a bit artsy, doesn't it, when you use the word journey. But you don't really know where you're going to end up and what your style is going to be, and or even what you're going to end up drawing. Like, for so long I just thought you had to be, I don't know, like a traditional artist, in the sense that you draw fruit bowls or you draw really high detailed impressive portraits. That's always the kind of thing you're taught at school. So this kind of art, it was just never on the table. But then when you see people like Peter who can do it, not just him, there's is it Cody? Again, quick. Why am I so crap with names? Cody, what's he called? Cody Tarantino, he's one. And again, another brilliant doodle artist. You can just make ultra interesting things, and that's what I like to do, is just make visually and... just visually interesting. What's the other word I'm looking for? Aesthetically interesting and fun things. But yeah, we're just still going through my discovery. I think there I'm trying to combine maybe graffiti with the first kind of signs of it, because I'm doing all the lettering and things here. But all of the, like, I'll do maybe, or I used to do like 2 or 3 pages of this just at a time. Like, they didn't take long, but you kind of just draw one basic shape and then link it up, or draw another shape within another shape. I think this is me trying to actually make a readable word out of it. So it always say, all these always say Jambar, and this is me trying to make a graffiti out of it. Again, I think this page might have come earlier, where I'm practicing smoke and cross-hatching, things like that. Alien alphabet kind of thing. I feel this was, oh no. So this, I've actually done a drawing, upside down, of this. I did a full piece of something like this. So this is where I'd say here I start to think about actual full pieces of work as opposed to just scribbling. And I think I did start to do a few early pieces. Just more graffiti stuff, more line work. I get the feeling this was an earlier page that's been mixed up. Yeah, because of all this, all the Peter Draw stuff. But yeah, so the first kind of sketchbook is just all this kind of thing. Like that. That's an idea that I think is one of my early A6 pieces. So this is when I am starting to pull out ideas and turn them into actual pieces. And then if you can see that as the sun comes through. But it's all just a mix of graffiti, doodle art. I think Zentangle art is playing a big part here. Video game art. It's all kind of mixed in, me just trying to get ideas and pull things from that. And when I start the new sketchbook, I don't know why I didn't finish that page. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's an early A6 piece. This was me trying to, again, I don't know if you can see it because it's blue lead. I tried to make, this was inspired by Axiom Verge, I don't know if you can see that, where I tried to make like a final boss tomb, but again I abandoned it because it wasn't really an idea of anything, it was just me loosely copying something. And then these are pieces, I think early on, that I tried to attempt. So what I tried to do here was use kind of like the stippling technique and using only circles, but following the sort of grid of the paper to make kind of square shapes. But again, it was just taking, I couldn't concentrate, like it was just taking so long enough, and I thought it doesn't look good enough for me to care to continue. And this is more doodle, yeah, where I'm doing the Doodle Jam logo. So there's the O, and the idea was to get a skull in there. Yeah, more Doodle Jam stuff. So I think this is just about where I start the new sketchbook. So this is now the set. So all that I've just shown you there, that was one sketchbook. This is now the second sketchbook, where I really start kind of sort of focusing in on ideas for actual pieces. So this is an idea. This wasn't necessarily the first piece that I did. Again, all the pages are mixed up, but I start playing about with colours and different shapes, mixing different blues, and this is now kind of the theme on this particular sketchbook, where I really start looking at combining colours and shapes a bit more, I don't want to say accurately, but with a bit more purpose, with a bit more intent. Like everything's a bit more deliberate. It's not just random scribbles anymore. I'm now actually trying to attempt to make sort of structures and buildings out of this kind of stuff. And I still occasionally mix in some shapes. Oh, there it is. I remember talking about this. So this is where my logo came from, because it used to be something like that. I think it used to be that. And this is, I just thought I needed something simple, something quick. And there it is. There's the first. Oh, there you go. Keep that in my lock. It'll be worth millions soon, won't it? I wish. Yeah, just more, like I say, more deliberate structures now. It's not just random lines and all that sort of stuff. Now we're starting to get into the weeds. Starting to apply a bit more detail to stuff. I mean, I'm always still looking at trying to do buildings. So I went back to kind of early work that I did that looked like this. And I still do want to go back and do more things that look like skyscrapers. I think this was when I was playing about with all the metallic colours as well. Yeah, I think I turned that into a graffiti piece, did I? But it's all kind of, like, we're getting more up to date now, starting to see, like, you don't really see any of the Peter Draw stuff anymore. It's all the stuff that you see more recently. And then this kind of stuff, there you go, you start seeing this in my sketchbook drawings, the time-lapse drawings that I've done. So kind of I'll mess about with shapes, colours, details, and then if I like them, I'll decide, like, that's an A6 drawing, I believe. I like the combination of colours, and then I'll, like I say, refine it a bit when I do the actual piece. Start messing about with some neon stuff again. Yeah, I think I do a bigger version of one of these as a sketchbook piece. But now, as you can see, sort of going through it, I'd say this is now safely in the sort of time of when this is now my own style. So I think you can still see influences from, like I say, Peter Draws and other artists here. But I think I can now safely call this my style now. You know, the influence is there, but it's like I'm clearly not trying to copy them. I'm very much doing my own thing at this point. I think this was actually earlier. This is where I'm practicing the sun in the background. I'm thinking, right, how can I use the dots to make an actual sun? And there's kind of my first attempts. Because, like, I'm a big fan of the synthwave music genre, and you basically see on all their videos, all the compilation videos of those playlists, you've got this kind of thing in the background, and I thought, I want to have a go at drawing one. And then that's pretty much up to date. Don't know why that's in there. That was me testing out some paper as opposed to the... Well, it's not really up to date. So that was the first scrapbook. And then the most recent scrapbook, the newest one that I've started, is here. So this is the scrapbook I'm currently working through now. Still quite experimental at this point. I'm trying to play about with backgrounds a bit more here. Again, the sort of oranges and reds to depict like a sunset, but making it more cyberpunk, if you like. Again, the sort of synthwave playlists. I remember doing this. There's a couple of A6 pieces again where I use this kind of color separation because I use a lot of fine liners. They're not great for coloring in big spaces. So a lot of the drawings that I do sort of in the sketchbooks, they tend to have this kind of color pattern where it's not just like a fully blocked out color, it's just partially, and it can work. Oh, sugar. It can work, like I say. yeah, you can clearly see. I think this is me again attempting like a shoot 'em up style sprite. But here you can see this is when I'm kind of really deep into my A6 pieces. I can even show you that drawing as an A6 piece. It's pretty much the same. Where is it? There you go. That's the one. But that's how scrapbooking works, or that's how it works for me anyway. Like if I am struggling, and it doesn't, like I say, work every time where you just go and draw some crap. Like here, I'm just scribbling nonsense, and it doesn't work every time. But if you feel like you want to draw, like, because there's loads of different kind of levels and ways you feel like you want to draw, but you can't really think of anything, it's a really good way to just chill out. And for somebody like me who's a bit of a neat freak when it comes to drawing, just being messy and being sort of rough can just start you off. You know, at 1 minute you've done a little scribble like this, and then you'll go on to the next thing, and then you might think, oh, I like this little bit here, I'll expand on that little bit, and then before you know it, you're like 2-3 pages deep. But yeah, I think, again, just all this stuff, this is just for an hour maybe. I'll just come here, do this, do that. And I can even show you this one that turned up. I think that was the most viewed video I've got on YouTube, I think. Could be wrong. Not you. So that ended up turning into... Bear with me 1 second. There you go. That one. So instead of doing the... So like you can see, I liked the idea, like here, I liked the idea of like train carriages, like compartments. I think was it Dead Space that gave me the idea? And I think that came about because I misremembered the map or the whole environment, because it's a big ship, isn't it? But for some reason in my head, or it might have been the core, where it's like different compartments, like a train, like train compartments. So that's where I kind of got this idea. And then I refined it a little bit into that. And then when I was happy with that, I tried all the different backgrounds, and it turns out I just preferred the one colour, the thicker lines. And it just carries on. You just go through. And like, again, I won't show you all of them, but that was just a good example where here, like, that became a drawing. I think there's like little sort of flashes here where I go back to maybe having a little go at being a bit more random and a bit more doodly. Like there's another drawing that eventually turned into something. I then had the idea that I wanted to turn some of these into insects. I like the idea of biomechanical insects. I like the symmetry of like winged, specifically winged insects. So I thought that I could make some really interesting drawings out of them. And then I didn't do them in this book. I did sort of the first bits and pieces in this book. I think this was just another time where I couldn't think of anything, so I just started and never stopped. But the insects, in fact, I may as well show you since it's here actually, because I've got a separate scrapbook where I practice all my graffiti stuff as well. And like I say, when I get more done in that, I'll show you all of that. But the insects one, I probably should have done it in that sketchbook as opposed to my graffiti one. But where are you? So turning my drawings into insects is an idea that is kind of stuck with me. I really want to try it. I really want to make some pieces like this. Again, I flesh them out a bit more. But like I say, one of the things that I kind of struggle with is being a bit disciplined. Like if I have an idea or something, is just sticking with it. Like I said in my other videos, I'll get really excited and try and go, oh, this is a great idea, I want to do loads of stuff with this, and oh, this is a really good idea. And I'll end up starting like 4, 5, 6 different ideas and not finishing any of them. So it's there, it'll always be there as an idea, and it's something I'll always want to pursue. But I think maybe just sticking back to basics. But yeah, these are sort of my scrapbooks. This is where I just try and get ideas out, try and pull them into bigger pieces. This is, again, the first... Is this the first kind of workings of tutorials? This originally started not as a tutorial, but as a way for me to try and I don't know, like refine drawings a bit more. So if I said to myself, right, I want to start with a base of just squares and then move out from there, or I could use these shapes today and then go out and make a piece out of that. Excuse me, or this, or maybe today I want to do this. So at first, this was just for me, as a means of trying to expand and create structures using different kind of shape combinations. And then I went on to... Oh, I keep knocking the bloody stand. And then here, like, there's where the piece would be. This is, you know, what I could possibly do for backgrounds or something like that. So this didn't start as a tutorial. It started more as a way for me to figure out how to draw. There's another example there and there of where they've turned into bigger drawings. Don't know why I've left that page blank. Oh, there you go. So this is another sort of thing. So I've done a series of squares. They're all these 6 are in the same order, but I've tried to use completely different details for all of them to make different drawings. And I thought, okay, maybe if I have like a set of different shapes I can use, then once I've picked the shapes, I can move it out and use different details, different backgrounds, different colours. This is when I start using pencils again. I really liked that. Again, I'm leaving more and more pages empty. I don't know why. I think this is me practicing more pieces. I mean, it's starting to get a little bit long in the tooth, some of it, I think. Oh, there you go. I think there's kind of the process. The very first time I looked at really having a process. So there's the shapes, then I'd outline them, detail them, do smaller details on the outside, and then a background. There's another one where pull that out into a bigger drawing. More insects. So this is a bit of a landmark for me. So there is a live stream on my channel somewhere where I remember this live stream where my line work I thought was getting maybe a bit too rigid. Again, this whole thing of me trying to be a bit too much of a neat freak. Every line has to be perfect, and it just ends up looking flat. So I started recording and live streaming just me messing about and doodling in the scrapbook. And I started drawing my lines in a different way. So I'd be a lot looser with them and I'd overlap them. So like you'd see these gaps. I don't know if you can see it clearly. So there where you can see like the lines are different thickness. It's deliberate but kind of loose at the same time. So if I didn't do a line perfectly, it wouldn't matter. I could just kind of change it and it'd still look really effective. And I think it just looked, the line work just looked a lot better. It looked a lot more, I want to say organic maybe. This kind of line work gives you more of a feel of like a Peter draws, where you see in his work he's a lot looser and he just kind of goes. And this change in how I draw my lines is a bit more like that. Obviously, like I said, I'm not saying this is as good as his work or it looks like his work, because it's not. But that feel of just not being so OCD about how accurate the lines are, because it doesn't really matter, and you can end up creating better work. Again, just more ideas, colour combinations. I think that was another stream I did, perhaps. But yeah, just changing up that little thing about how I draw the lines helped me a lot, I think. And then this is me drawing clouds for an original piece that I did, that I have sold. Practicing backgrounds a bit more. This, I keep knocking the bloody stand. So this was me practicing the details of the piece that I sold. Apologies, that's sun rays getting in. Which helped a lot. I didn't the very first piece I did, original piece, I didn't plan any of it. So I'd kind of do some of it and go, oh, I don't really know what to do next. I'd have to stop, come in here, decide what colours and what pattern I wanted to use. When I decided, then I'd go back. Not the best way to do an original piece. I think with an original piece, if you're gonna go all out, just be completely 100% as you go, or pre-plan it. I think if you kind of go in between, it can not look as nice. Going back to drawing some skulls, because I do want to incorporate skulls into my drawings because I really enjoy drawing them and I think they just look cool. And there's some examples of me trying to mess about with them. For ages I was trying to do something with greys, but the grey pens I've got just aren't cutting it. They just look a bit weak. Again, they just look a bit flat and a bit... I really like this, so I've not used a black line to separate colours, and that's kind of stuck me thinking do that more often. Again, just practicing the colours and the clouds. Trying to decide again what colours to use for something. And then for the original piece, I think this was like me double checking and making sure the clouds were perfect. And then my most recent stuff, so this was going to be, this was going to be my most recent original piece. So before, I kind of had this bit of a crisis, if you like, this lull, this, I don't know, this kind of crossroads, if you like, whether deciding if I was going to go on. What I was originally going to do was, after I finished the black book, which I did finish, I was going to do like a new series. So the sketchbook stuff I was going to make originals of, then I went, oh no, maybe that's not the best idea. Maybe if I do a grey book, if I do this. And I think because I was just trying to separate my work out so much, it just all thinned out. Like, should I do a sketchbook series? Should I do a grey book series? Another series? This series? And this is kind of me doing this. And the original of this is just sat here doing nothing. Like, I got so far into it and it's just sat there now. Like, so I can't really do anything with that. I'll probably finish it at some point, but just got everything just stalled at this point. Where I'm practicing with grey pens. But this is what I mean, where the scrapbooking helps. Like I said, for a while I was kind of stuck and not really knowing what to do. Then, even though like I thought maybe I shouldn't really do a grey book, I started using pencils. And again, I went back to looking at Peter's drawings for inspiration, because I hadn't used his work for inspiration for a long time. And just when I saw some of his work where he just uses pencil to... I can even show you the piece that I saw. Where he just used... I think it was these. Was it that one maybe? But one of them where he used pencil. So he'd done a drawing in pen, but he just used pencil just to subtly shade something. And I thought, how have I not seen that before? It's such a good effect. Like there, I think that's pen he uses, but the same kind of idea. Where are you? I'm sure it was in this book. And that kind of made me think, oh, I could do that. Not obviously draw anything like his, but just use pencil just to subtly shade something and make it pop a bit more, because I started to feel like a lot of my work was getting a bit flat, a bit samey. just a bit in there. So just that one little thing just made me kind of think, why don't you just try using pencil as your grain instead of trying to force using pens all the time? And all of this stuff I think I did in one, or most of it I did in one session, and then we get to here, and this is the latest thing I've sort of scrapbooked. I've started working on my details a lot more. I've started really thinking about actually making them as structures as opposed to just, random lines and random shapes. Look at them more as sort of structures and working on the background a bit more. But this is where we are. And like I say, just scrapbooking here, that's what led to me to come back to this book again. So in this book, I think I initially wanted to do some live streaming stuff with this on TikTok, but I don't live stream on there anymore because fuck that place. So as I keep knocking my stand, I just thought, maybe just do a little drawing. Again, scale it back. Like, again, I started thinking about all these massive pieces, overly detailed, these big canvases, these big pictures I was going to do. And I just thought, why not just, have a little session in your sketchbook, have a little chat, and see where you go. And because I've been talking about where my ideas come from, scrapbook and all that sort of stuff for ages, I thought, why not just go through it all, show people what you've done and how you got to this point, and and why I think it's just a really good, it's not going to work for everybody, but I do think it's a really good way to, even if you want to keep drawing, like I said earlier, it's a good way to do that. Even if you can't think of anything specific to draw, but it's a good way of just getting in here. Like if I had to take this, and like I say, you've got a dot there, just draw it down to that dot, then maybe draw it down here, then maybe go here, then go up here, why not? Close it, maybe split that in half down there. And all it is just do one little thing at a time. Again, this has just helped me because I really struggle to concentrate when I draw. So just tiny little bits at a time, and it expands outwards and outwards and outwards. And before you know it, you've got this. Like I actually did this when I was on the phone to my sister's. I just kind of did one bit and then did another bit and then did another bit. So I just think it's a really good way to help you creatively, where you don't have to worry about it being perfect or accurate, or if you mess up, it's just all about just keeping your skills going. Like even when you have like that time where you've got a bit of a block, it can just help you kind of still keep in touch with drawing, but so you don't lose it fully, if you know what I mean. Because I know a lot of artists have said that they can have blocks and then they won't do anything for weeks, and they come back and they don't feel like they can do anything, and then that gets them down and they go away again. And it's, again, I'm not saying this is the foolproof way to help that. I'm just saying it helps me and it might help someone else. But yeah, that's where I'm at the minute. That's 2 years worth of scrapbooking for you. That's what I've done in the last 2 years to help me develop my style, develop my drawings, to improve my pieces. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you get some inspiration, some ideas out of it. If you decide to start your own little sort of scrapbook to help with stuff. But it's been a while coming. I have said for a long time I was going to do it, give you a tour of all my scrapbook and try and explain some of it and where I got my ideas from. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.